Descent into Hell. Marcus, Daniel, and Holloway stood before the abandoned town hall of Willow Creek. According to Holloway, an ancient tunnel system lay beneath the town, where a spatial gate was opening. Outside, shadowy entities were wreaking havoc, plunging the town into chaos. "We need to go down there immediately," Holloway said urgently. Marcus checked his gun and knife, then turned to Daniel. "Are you sure you want to come?" Daniel nodded. "I'm in this till the end." They entered the town hall, moving through dark corridors. Finally, they found an old iron cellar door. Holloway unlocked it, revealing a stone staircase leading underground. "Let's go," Marcus said, stepping down first, his gun ready. The darkness underground was thick, almost alive. The deeper they went, the colder and more suffocating the air became. When they reached the bottom, a terrifying sight greeted them. A vast underground chamber stretched before them, its walls carved with strange ancient symbols. At the center of the room was a black gate, floating in midair like a crack in reality. Darkness spilled from it, covering everything around. Marcus felt his body tremble. "What do we do to close it?" Holloway pulled out an ancient book, flipping through its pages. "We need to perform a sealing ritual, but it requires a sacrifice." Daniel clenched his teeth. "What kind of sacrifice?" Holloway looked at them gravely. "One person must stay behind to stabilize the gate while the ritual is performed. That person won't be able to return." Marcus and Daniel exchanged glances. A life or death decision awaited them. But before anyone could speak, a roar echoed from the gate. Shadows poured out at a terrifying speed, clinging to the walls and moving like giant spiders. They lunged toward Marcus's group with horrifying speed. Marcus immediately opened fire, but the bullets passed through the shadows without slowing them down. Daniel swung his knife, slashing at a creature crawling on the ceiling, but it only let out a grotesque scream before continuing its attack. "We need to move faster," Holloway shouted, frantically flipping through the book for a way to stop the creatures. Before they could decide, a laugh echoed from the darkness. From a corner of the room, Sarah stepped out, her eyes pitch black and filled with malice. "You're so naive," she said, her voice distorted. "This gate cannot be closed. It is the fate of this world." Marcus raised his gun. "You're not Sarah anymore." "What are you?" Sarah smirked. "I am the first of them. And I won't let you ruin our plans." She raised her hand, and more shadowy creatures emerged from the gate, charging toward Marcus, Daniel, and Holloway. "Run!" Holloway screamed. Marcus fired his gun, but the bullets passed through the entities without causing harm. Daniel tried using his knife, but the creatures quickly overwhelmed him. Sarah laughed maniacally, moving closer to the gate. "When this gate fully opens, this world will belong to us." Marcus gritted his teeth, turning to Holloway. "Is there another way to destroy it?" Holloway flipped through the book, then stopped. "There's a way. But it will destroy this place too." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "What way?" Holloway bit his lip. "A massive explosion at the center of the gate will trigger a chain reaction, tearing apart the connection between the two worlds." But Marcus understood immediately. "We won't be able to escape before it blows." Daniel clenched his fists. "We can't let them win. If we have to sacrifice, it's worth it." Marcus looked around, then spotted a crate of industrial explosives in the corner. He smiled coldly. "Maybe we don't have to sacrifice anyone. If we detonate it remotely." Holloway's eyes widened. "But how?" "I'll set the charges. You two get out of here," Marcus said firmly. "I'll trigger it from a distance." Daniel shook his head. "No, I'm staying with you." Marcus laughed. "If we both die, who's going to tell this story? Go, Daniel. Protect this world." Daniel hesitated, but Holloway pulled him away. "We don't have time." Marcus quickly placed the explosives around the gate while Sarah realized what was happening. "No!" she screamed, lunging toward Marcus. He fired his gun, hitting her square in the head. This time, she staggered back, screaming in pain. The darkness within her began to dissolve. "You don't belong in this world," Marcus whispered, then pressed the detonator. A massive explosion erupted, engulfing the town in flames. When Marcus pressed the detonator, a tremendous shockwave erupted underground, shaking Willow Creek to its core. The old town hall was torn apart, the ground cracked, and a massive pillar of fire shot into the dark sky. The screams of the shadowy entities echoed before being drowned out by the inferno. Daniel and Holloway, standing at a distance, were thrown to the ground by the blast. Daniel screamed in despair, Marcus. But there was no response. A silent night fell over the town. The flames burned faintly among the ruins, and the sky above slowly cleared. But had the threat truly been eliminated? Daniel shakily stood up, stumbling toward the collapsed building. He searched for Marcus among the debris, but all that remained were charred remnants. A sense of helplessness overwhelmed him. Holloway placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder, his voice heavy. He did what had to be done. But we can't stay here long. Daniel clenched his fists, but he knew Holloway was right. Willow Creek was now a wasteland. They had to leave. 3 days later, Daniel and Holloway returned to Portland. News of the strange explosion in Willow Creek spread, but authorities couldn't explain the cause. They attributed it to a gas leak, but Daniel knew the truth was far more complicated. Daniel sat in his small apartment, surrounded by documents and photos of strange disappearances across the country. He knew Willow Creek was just a small part of a larger mystery. The gate might have been destroyed, but had the darkness truly vanished? Holloway walked in, placing a cup of coffee in front of him. "What are you thinking?" Daniel sighed. "Are we sure they're completely gone?" Holloway pondered for a moment. "I don't know. But if there's something else out there, we need to find it before it's too late." Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Daniel stood up and opened the door, and his heart stopped. Marcus. He stood there, his clothes torn, his face covered in wounds. But what shocked Daniel the most were Marcus's eyes. They were pitch black, deep as the night. Marcus smiled slowly. "I'm back, brother." Daniel stepped back instinctively. The man before him wasn't just Marcus, it was something incomprehensible. A cold aura emanated from Marcus's body, making the air in the room heavy. How are you alive?" Daniel stammered. Marcus tilted his head, as if searching for a reasonable answer. "I'm not sure. I remember the explosion. The pain. Then I woke up in the darkness. And something called me back." Holloway clenched his fists. "Do you remember anything else? Are you still yourself?" Marcus laughed, but the sound was distorted, as if coming from a distant place. "I'm still me, Holloway. But I've seen things no one should see. And I think we're not done yet." Outside the window, shadows began to appear in the sky over Portland. Thin columns of smoke twisted, signaling something terrifying was about to happen. "The darkness hasn't vanished. It's only just begun to spread," Marcus whispered. Daniel and Holloway exchanged glances. They hadn't escaped this nightmare, they had only stepped into a new chapter of it.